Hi everyone! I trust everything is going well for you all. And if it isn't, I hope you are navigating any challenges one step at a time. Remember, there is no need to rush. Take things at your own pace, considering what you can comfortably manage. And this simple statement leads me directly to the next chapter of my story. As we pick up from where we left off, which is how the problems with MS started for me, now I will continue with my story, and after all, I will provide you with a description of what you can see on the screen. So there it was. I received the news of the suspected MS while standing in the parking lot of my new workplace in Gliwice, Poland. A city situated some 700 kilometers away from my relatives, with whom my relationship was rather strained during that period anyway. On the other hand, I was very close to my buddies from Artifacts Mundi, the group I started my 3D modeling adventure with. At that time they were in Zabrze, a city within the same urban conglomeration as Gliwice. But I couldn't discuss the MS topic with them. They had even gone the extra mile by helping me secure an apartment at that time, and it felt awkward to burden them with this matter. Somehow I couldn't do it, and as a result, our contact practically ceased to exist. Well, okay, that wasn't the only reason. There was also my at that time boyfriend, who joined me a month later and who in everyday life turned out to be complete psycho. Yeah. I could talk more about the danger of toxic relationships and their destructive impact, but that's story for another time, as it deserves its own space, which I may not have enough video time to cover now. Looking back, it seems rather stupid to have been in such proximity to good long-time friends and not do anything about it. The understanding has settled in with time, as some lessons only became clear years later. And after about a year, I was in totally different part of Poland, and that was it. The end. So if I could change anything from that time, this is it. Do not break contact with your bodies. And although I know perfectly well that sometimes we feel that the whole universe might seem to conspire against us and we would most likely to burn it to the ground, it's not worth it. Friends are important. Don't abandon them, regardless of whether harm is done to you or to them. Maybe even especially when harm is done to your relatives or friends. Good changes start within us, and only then an example will follow. However, going back to the story of my beginnings with MS, I was fine for a while. Nothing happened, and that was despite the lack of medication or any medical care. At the time, I was living in Warsaw, working as a 3D modeler, sustaining both myself and my now ex-boyfriend, who, despite our breakup, remained immovably entrenched in my room. No, not flat, just a room, with his 20 or so highly venomous spiders, because he didn't have a job and I was too soft-hearted. Even though that I knew perfectly well what he was like and that it was very bad for me. Anyway, at the time I was working on a so-called piecework system. The setup meant that payment was calculated on the basis of predetermined number of days to complete a given model, and no one cared if you did it faster or slower. You get as much as someone has thought of once you're done with your model. The problem? Times were pushed to the absolute minimum and often unrealistic. Consequently, this frequently led to situations where I found myself working extended hours to meet these demanding deadlines. Finally, at the beginning of 2013, I got a project that I was working on from 8 a.m. to 8 or 9 p.m. 6 days a week for an entire month. And at the end of that month, I began to feel that something was wrong. The muscle in my neck on the right side began to tense and really hurt. And on top of that, my right hand became strangely resistant and stopped behaving as I would like it to. I remember that somewhere at the end of the last week, in the evening, I slowly began to panic. I had a serious problem moving my right hand. I could neither hold a pen or operate a mouse in the usual manner. I will give my ex a fair amount of credit because at least then he went to the hospital with me, so I was not alone again. However, in the end, I found myself making another hospital visit the same evening, this time to a neurological facility, and this journey I had to take on my own. I was examined in the emergency room and the duty doctor said it was muscle weakness and that it could actually be MS, but he needs to do more tests. I don't have any specific source here with a description of what muscle weakness is, so I refer those interested to Wikipedia. The link is in the description, and as usual, with your help, it may find its way here on the screen in the future. Yes, I will update it. The complication arose from my employment contract, which is known in Poland commonly as a junk contract and is often used for 3D artists, concept artists, or artists of any kind. It's without any social contributions, whether retirement or healthcare. Not that it was entirely legal in the case of that particular company, but tell that to your employer. The door's right there if you don't like it. That's simple. So, providing for 2 people with my one small salary, I had no savings, and paying for tests at the hospital was not cheap. I had to call my parents and ask if they would help. Oh, they were not thrilled. Ugh. And this was not the end of my problems, but it is the end of this story for today. Sorry. I will just add one simple statement here. It's very easy to overwork yourself and destroy your health. It doesn't work like that the other way around. Don't do that to yourself. And I know that it's easy in our industry, but just don't do that. Respect yourselves and your health. Well, now that you know what surprises a mess can bring to a person, I can use what little time I still have left in this video to tell you about my twisted gnome. For those who may have missed the previous video, or for those who could use a reminder, the order in which I display my characters depends on the order in which they were created, known on their given numbers. This small, cheerful, and definitely inconspicuous follow that is created before your eyes belong to the race of gnomes. While gnomes are often wacky and create very strange innovations, they are not likely to be evil. Here we are dealing with an exception. A gnome who has lost himself in his research and experiments so much that he has lost all breaks and buried his own conscience under a pile of dead bodies. Yerkur Reblishim? Simp, whatever? Something like that? I don't know. Bio. Introduction will provide you with a slightly enhanced understanding of his character, and you can find an extended version on my ArtStation challenge page, link in the description below. In the beginning, Yerkur was a simple engineer. He worked in a workshop inherited from his father and was highly respected in his community. He had an unusual knack for mechanism that improved the work of others significantly. He knew a bit about magic, as his father ensured that Yerkur developed this talent as well, although it was not the main passion of the young gnome at the time. As the years went by and he became increasingly frustrated with the diminishing value of his work, Yerkur began to have more and more recourse to magic, even venturing out on search expeditions to explore new possibilities. On further expeditions, he became increasingly fascinated by how it was possible for a dead body brought to life with the help of magic to be able to function so well. And what if his engineering skills were combined with necromancy? There hasn't been a significant shift regarding the method behind creating this concept. It's still a simple sketch, which I later redrawn clean and didn't fill with a grayscale anymore, like with Anna's. It was simply a waste of time at that moment, and probably this is due to the fact that I don't really like creating shadowing in the form of grayscale on a screen and then colorizing everything piece by piece. While I'm at ease working with a pencil, there is a strange disconnect when it comes to translating that comfort onto the monitor screen for me. I probably have to practice it properly at some point to get rid of this problem, but for this project I've stayed with the option of creating lights and shadows directly in the rendering stage. You know, I really enjoy making these videos. I get personal satisfaction from it, that it can potentially help someone, even though a new idea has came to me just like that. But the problem is the amount of time it takes me to do it all. And I do it all by myself. Recording, editing, graphics, etc. No one helps me with it. Now, not that long after I was unexpectedly redacted at my work due to the lack of new assignments, despite my very positive annual evaluation, I'm trying to find something new. I am also making my own 3D models that I plan to sell, but I'm having trouble with time. Oh, the irony. Therefore, probably temporary, but still I am forced to extend the gaps between my videos to 3 weeks or so. Maybe sometimes I will be able to upload something faster, but by doing so, I will be reducing my time buffer. And I want to earn something too, so I hope you can understand that. I definitely need to learn how to process these videos faster, more efficiently, and more interesting for you. But it's also a process in which I need to make templates for myself, which is already partially done, and I need to gain practice and experience. Not everything will be perfect right away. Here I am not foolishing myself at all. Otherwise, I still wouldn't have published anything, and that wouldn't get me nowhere. Speaking of getting somewhere, today's video has been brought to a finish, and that means I will see you most likely in another 3 weeks, where I'll be showing you the process of making my Draco orc sketch and continue with my story. Meanwhile, bye bye! Don't forget to show your support by liking, subscribing, and sharing your valuable thoughts regarding this video. Until we meet again, take care and stay engaged! There is one more thing that I need to say for a complete clarity, and I will say it again and again. I am not a doctor or any medical professional. The information I share is based on my personal observations, insights from healthcare providers, physical therapists, and various written sources. It's important to note that what works for me not necessarily be suitable or effective for others. So before adopting any practices or techniques mentioned by me, I strongly advise you to consult with a healthcare professional to ensure that you are not putting yourself at risk or causing harm. See ya.